well, we need to optimize something. Websites or advertising, or find out what kind of people our customers are, what do they do on the website, what we could do, what could we change on the website or in the analytics to earn more money.
Welcome to No-Hacks.show, a weekly podcast dedicated to letting smart people talk to you about better online experiences. My guest today is the man you should follow for more posts about digital analytics in the real world. You may know him as the co-founder of Hopkins, a digital marketing agency for ambitious businesses located in Helsinki, Finland. You may also know him as your favorite web analytics expert on LinkedIn. Mikko Piippo, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Great to talk to you. So, digital analytics in the real world. Can you explain that hashtag, that phrase?
Yeah, I've used that hashtag now for a couple of years because I have been attending all kinds of digital analytics conferences for years, and it seems that people who mostly talk about analytics live in a completely different world from that of mine. So they are using enterprise tools, and they have work with websites having huge amount of traffic, and it seems that they have everything I can only dream about. So my stack is usually low-cost tools, free tools, websites have just limited traffic volumes and so on. So that's why I want to give an idea about different kind of world where people don't work with sites like booking.com all the time.
Yeah, that's the
especially
thing about
the CRO conferences. It's always
that is a great. Do you think we need more speakers who talk about the real world? Everything is real world. I mean, if we're being honest, but more of the real life examples for most people.
I think it would be great, at least for us who work in the field. But I'm not sure if if it would be that interesting for example, conference attendance. Do they really want to hear just inspirational stories about what can you do with if your daily revenue is 10 million euros and you have a million sessions a day or something like that?
Very good point. But I would assume that most people who scroll through LinkedIn feed and see a post like yours, that's easier to relate to because they've used analytics tools that way. I think that's more of a feed stopper than a scroll stopper than anything else.
I think so too, and I've heard from many people that they enjoy my posts just because they feel the same way about many things and they have similar experiences, but no one just talks about it.
But that's exactly why I approached you about being on this podcast, because I enjoy that content, and I think more people. I mean, a lot of people already do, but I think everyone should really focus on those kinds of posts. So you've been in web analytics for how long?
Well, I started in digital marketing around 15 years ago. Then I was first working in SEO and also did some Google AdWords, as it was called that time. Now 8 years I've been purely in digital analytics. But like I told, I have a background in digital marketing before that.
Right, and that was very useful when transitioning to analytics, I'm sure. So professionally, in the scope of web analytics, what is it that you're not good at?
I'm not good at most things.
You're good at knowing what you're not good at.
I'm not good at writing code.
Okay.
So JavaScript is my weak point.
Okay.
Mobile technology, so they are even worse. So,
see, I've been asking these questions as an intro question to my guests recently. I think 3 times that I asked this question. This is the second time I got this answer. I'm not good at code. It could, a small sample, but it could mean something. So, do you think knowing, I think just the basic JavaScript would help you in your work?
Yeah, it does. And Certainly.
Okay, that's very
I would
interesting.
say that, yeah, for example, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a bunch of students, or it was a course for digital marketing at the University of Vaasa in Finland. And there were around 120 students there, I think. And the topic of the day was digital analytics. And there was someone who asked me the question or which language I think is the best one or most important for people in digital analytics. If I think it would be R or Python. And then I had to answer that I'm sorry to disappoint you, but in my experience, it is JavaScript, because I use JavaScript.
It's the language of the browser.
Not daily, but weekly.
Yeah.
Unlike R or Python, I use once a year.
Right. And I went through an R phase where my background is in web development, so PHP mostly. I went through R phase, and it is just, if you know any other language, it is the weirdest thing to learn. It is very, very, very unusual. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But JavaScript, of course, is the language of the browser.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think for as long as the browsers rely on JavaScript, it's
Yeah.
probably your best bet for anything digital marketing and website related.
Sure.
So yeah, that's a good answer. Even though Python or R is really the when they say what should I learn for data analysis, for web analytics, they mean should I learn Python or R, when
Yeah,
JavaScript
but
is the
maybe
unsung
even
hero there.
SQL.
Maybe that
Yeah.
too. Yes. But that's not the real world. For real world, like, to go back to the first
not for
question,
me.
it's JavaScript. It's JavaScript. And
Yeah.
absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And the main topic of today's episode is crap or care. This is the model. Should I call it two-step analytics maturity model? I think you described it as that in one of your posts. I'll just read through what it means, the acronym, and then let's talk about why this is so important. So crap is the bad way. I mean, it's crap. It's
The
collect
normal way?
data the normal way, absolutely. Collect data, report data, avoid analysis, postpone action. It's crap. And care is collect data, analyze data, recommend actions, and then experiment. So how did you come up with this model? And I've seen not only you talk about this as I was researching this episode, but a lot of people reference you. Even Avinash, the Avinash, tweeted about this
The one.
a few years ago. The one,
Yeah.
the chosen one, exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of people like this. Could you explain this model to the listeners?
Yeah. We've all seen all kinds of maturity models, and with 4, 5, or 6 steps, and with predictive analytics and all kinds of fancy things with machine learning and now artificial intelligence on the top of the ladder. But I wanted to keep it much simpler, because I think that 2 steps is more than enough for me. It takes a long time before my clients are or have proceeded from the first step, that is the crap analytics, to care. Well, for example, still I work very often with clients that basically use digital analytics just for reporting. So they report things like monthly sessions or monthly revenue according to GA. 10 most popular pages visited last month, and the data is not really used for anything.
Landing pages as well. Landing pages, don't forget that one.
No. And they still wish they had the most popular search keywords, like we had 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But then I wanted to keep things simple. Simple solutions are always the best for me. And then I wanted to have just one more step that would include most of the things that would help organization to get value out of data. So basically, collect data. You should collect data and make sure that the data is of pretty good quality. You should know the problems the data has, if there are biases and so on. Concentrate. So basic stuff that very few companies actually know about. Then the second step would, of course, be to analyze the data, because otherwise we can't get any value out of the data if it just stays in Google Analytics or Looker Studio dashboards and is used just for reporting the past. It doesn't really help us in any ways. Well, maybe we can show that we have more traffic than last month or a year ago. We might get a higher budget from the stakeholders for the next year, but that's about the only use for reporting the past. Well, and of course, analysis is just a beginning or second step, because, well, we need to optimize something, websites or advertising, or find out what kind of people our customers are, what do they do on the website, what we could do, what could we change on the website or in the analytics to earn more money, to create better online experiences.
That's always the bottom line question. How can we make more money doing this, of course?
Yeah, but then even if sometimes I have already been able to proceed to this R step, the final step is the most difficult one. How to sell the ideas for the stakeholders and actually have them to experiment with something. The experiments could be something really simple. For example, you might just try another new advertising campaign targeting option or something simple. You don't always have to have a huge CRO program to optimize the user experience and optimize for conversions. Just starting with anything simple would also be a great start for many organizations.
So the main problem, the main roadblock in getting from crap to care, and basically, I think the biggest step here is to go to start analyzing and recommending. Of course, experiment later, but most people or most organizations, the small ones, a lot of organizations. Let's not say I'm not going to generalize and say most or all of them. A lot of the organizations never really do anything with the data they collect.
I fully agree.
Why do you think that happens? Why do you think that happens?
Well, they don't have any analytics people on board.
Okay.
It's kind of digital analytics is kind of sidekick for marketers. So marketers are expected to analyze the data. They don't have the time, they might not have the skills, or they might not even have the interest in analyzing the data. They just, well, it's too easy to just use automatic settings everywhere. Let the Google and Meta do optimization for your advertising.
But it was easier with Universal Analytics than it is with GA4, right?
Yeah, I would say that the user interface is easier for marketers. But of course, in a way, it was too easy. You get
no, that's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean.
You get 100 reports and 200 tabs, and then you spend hours looking or finding your way through the reports and thinking about what on earth should I think about these metrics? How on earth are they going to help me in optimizing anything? But in GA4, actually, you have to start with a question. It doesn't give you any answers. Of course, Universal Analytics also didn't give you any answers if you didn't have any questions in your mind, but at least it was easy to spend hours and hours of time looking through the reports and creating funny segments.
That's what I was going to say. Creating segments is something that hours and hours were wasted doing for generations of marketers, I would say. So do you think switch from UA to GA4 ultimately will lead to a better situation for web analytics in general, because you need to start with knowing what you want to do, right? With GA4.
I hope so, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
There are many things are happening right now in the field of digital analytics. Automation is one. Then artificial intelligence is coming everywhere. So I suppose that soon there will be a large language model in most of your analytics tool producing something they call insights that aren't really answers to any questions, but that might be enough for giving the stakeholders the impression that they don't need to analyze any data themselves, that these tools are miraculously going to create them valuable insights and even recommendations.
But I mean, GA4 has you can ask it in the bar at the top. You can type it, and basically it's suggesting the questions that you want to ask, and that is all wrong from the start, right?
Yeah, but in a way, that's a nice feature because it also helps the newcomers in GA4 to find something of interesting, and they don't have to create always a custom report or find their way through the menus. If you just ask about the number of sessions for the last July or trends this year, so it usually creates something usable or not usable in a way that it would create any insights or value, but at least for standard reporting purposes and checking simple things, it's more than.
But then we're back to
nice.
the crap stage, right? Okay, and then that is never a good
but
thing.
it simplifies the crappy thing.
Yeah, it makes crap easier. That's what Google products, some Google products do. I mean, it was a very similar situation with Google Optimize, where it was a free tool. It was very easy to set up and start running experiments with, that thousands and thousands of websites and brands were using it to test button colors or increasing the font size. And if you're not starting an experiment expecting or knowing what you want to learn, then does it matter if it's dark blue or light blue? The button, what will that tell you about your users?
It's an easy way to start. And of course,
too easy.
Too easy, but it's kind of getting interested in something.
Right.
And of course, especially for, thinking about small companies, they might not have traffic for doing real statistically significant tests. So even investing in paid tools might be too much. And it would be just a dream to have for example, front-end developer be involved with A/B testing program for a small website or even medium-sized website. But by the way, a fun fact, I was once in a conference. It was a digital elite camp. And in most CRO conferences, there is always one talk about doing CRO on low traffic sites.
Right.
And in this case, it was a low traffic site with 400,000 monthly sessions. And I was, wow, I don't have a single client with that many sessions.
Yeah. Digital Elite Camp, that's the one in Estonia, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that still happening?
Yeah, I think they.
I mean, the pandemic obviously.
Yes.
Postponed a few.
They missed a year or two. I think 2020 was cancelled. 2021 probably two.
Okay.
I think there was already something at least this year.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I heard very good things about that event. I mean, obviously, CXL, Peplaya, they know how to do these things.
Yeah.
So we briefly touched on GA4, and obviously there's alternatives out there that just may be enough for most people in the real world. So two of the most, I mean, you have them as hashtags in your profile description on LinkedIn, PeeWeekPro and Matomo.
Yeah.
Why would someone choose them over GA4?
For a couple of reasons. First of all, for many of my clients, an important reason is that PeeWeekPro is a European tool. So it's owned by a Polish company, stores data in the European Union. And with Matomo, it's an open source tool. You can install it wherever you want to, and you can store the data in your own country. So I would say that most of my clients who've used Matomo Analytics are actually public sector websites like government departments, cities, public healthcare, and so on. So because of privacy reasons, they want to keep the data under European jurisdiction. So that's one reason for choosing anything but GA or even Adobe Analytics. Then I would say that Matomo is a simpler tool. It's good enough for many marketers. One of the issues is that it's pretty slow. So if you have a significant amount of traffic, it can take a long time before your custom reports are available or your segments can be used. So that's something to think about. But on the other hand, it behaves like you expect an old-fashioned web analytics tool to function. So you still have your events with categories and actions and labels, and it is like universal analytics or even classic analytics, but just with fewer reports. Then,
and the difference between the two, I'm sorry to jump in, between PeeWeekPro and Matomo, it's the same parent company, right?
No,
or not quite. Okay.
It used to be. So 2018, PeeWeekPro was a company selling services related to the then open source PeeWeek. But PeeWeek, the open source software, rebranded itself as Matomo Analytics. And at the same time, I think there was a month or something like that in difference in time, PeeWeekPro launched their own completely different and new product. So it is basically enterprise quality tool, but also with a free tier. So it's good for small companies and bigger enterprises. And I think it's also pretty nice because it, for example, includes the content management tool. So you don't need a separate tool for having those annoying pop-ups asking your permission to store cookies. And it also has a tag manager and other interesting features, but those are some of the most interesting.
So let's say a client approaches you and mid-sized client based in European Union, what would your suggestion be if they don't have a tool already?
Well, it depends. That's of course the easy consultant way to get out of any difficult question.
But it is acceptable. That's an acceptable answer. But let's say it's a mid-sized client that has growth plans and that really cares about privacy. So we have the three: PeeWeekPro, Matomo, GA4.
If it's e-commerce, most probably GA.
Okay. So the support is not as great in PeeWeekPro or Matomo for e-commerce?
It's now a lot better than, let's say, 7 months ago or a year ago. But for example, for e-commerce, the choice of analytics tool might not be critical, but very often it helps you if you are fully working with Google's stack, because then it's easier to also integrate everything with advertising. So e-commerce...
That's a very good reason.
For e-commerce, I still prefer, in most cases, GA4. Then for small B2B companies, well, GA4 would be okay, but if they don't have that high traffic, then for example, thresholding can become an issue in GA4. So if you want to get everything out of your limited traffic volumes, then either Matomo or PeeWeekPro. Well, to disclose my financial interests, I am a PeeWeekPro official PeeWeekPro partner. So take my suggestions with a grain of salt.
Well, they sound reasonable to me, partner or not. I mean, obviously, the sunset is the word they use
Yeah,
for everything that Google kills. Basically, it's the sunset. They're not
yeah,
shutting it down. It's a sunset. Sunset of UA and switch to GA4. I think that was because it's a different product. It's not a new version. It's completely different. I think that was a great time for everyone to reassess their analytics needs,
sure.
and especially for brands that. And I use this quote a lot. I don't remember where I heard it a few years ago. That use analytics as a glorified stat counter. The old things in the
Yeah,
old websites.
sounds like
If you're
crap
using it,
analytics.
absolutely does, yes. But if that's the usage, then even universal analytics was such an overkill that
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
ridiculous. So it's a very good time to reassess whether you want to stick with Google. Of course, e-commerce integration with the Google
yes.
systems, yes, it makes all the sense in the
Yeah.
world.
And then if you are in some sensitive line of business, so for
Mm,
example, healthcare or online pharmacies, then sure, take some European tool.
right, and that makes a lot of, or
In
even Matomo
government.
for small businesses,
Yeah.
right? That makes a lot of sense. Now that we talked about crapper care, which it it's the most simple framework that I've heard, and that's why it's good. That's why it's real world.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that. And we talked about PeeWeekPro and Matomo and GA4, and we're approaching the end of the conversation. Is there anything I should have asked you today, but I didn't?
What kind of weather do we have in Helsinki?
And what kind? Okay, that is. What kind of weather do you have in Helsinki today?
It's cold, but
Is
luckily
it
it doesn't
dark?
rain today. Now
It doesn't rain today.
it's 5:30 p.m. It's been dark for almost 2 hours,
Yep,
and
I
it's
can I
cold
can
around
imagine.
0 degrees Celsius.
I heard it gets better in May. So just
If we are lucky.
if you're lucky. Okay, that said, I want to thank you for being a guest of No Hack Show. This was a really, really fun conversation. Crap or care, that's for listeners. That needs to be your takeaway. Start there. Start by less crap and more care, and you will be on to something great with web analytics. And yeah, thank you for being with us today. For everyone listening to this episode, I would like to thank you for that. And please consider rating, reviewing, and sharing the show with someone who will find it useful. And I will talk to you next week.